feathers and they will grow back a brand new set. And it's usually about a 2-week period. Now in the wild, it's very different from how these penguins are, but in the wild what happens is they have to actually beach themselves for that 2 weeks because they can't go into the ocean when they're molting their feathers. And it's because their feathers are actually kind of like a wetsuit. It's a sealant. It keeps their skin dry and warm when they go in the ocean. Once they lose those feathers, it no longer acts as a sealant, so they're not able to stay as warm as they can. So they will beach themselves for that 2 weeks, and a few weeks prior they will gorge themselves on as many fish as they can possibly handle so that they can live off of that fat for 2 weeks. It also requires a lot of energy for them to molt. So as you can see here, a couple of our penguins look a little interesting. They're a little disheveled. They have feathers all crazy. Their colors are very pale. So those are the ones that are currently right in the middle of molt. They don't have to necessarily eat double their size because they do still get fed every day, twice a day, so they don't need to beach themselves for 2 weeks. However, they still do what instinct tells them to do, and they all still gorge themselves completely. Excuse you. So there are just a few that don't have bands on. Their bands are their names, and the ones that don't have bands are the ones going through molt, and they get so big that the bands are too tight. So we have to remove them, which can be kind of a challenge for the keepers. We really have to go based off our knowledge of their personality and what they look like. And each penguin is actually very individual. They all have very individual characteristics about them visually and their personalities. So it's kind of easy to tell them apart close up. So this is one of my favorite penguins. This is Cito, and Cito and his brother Monty were hand-raised by us. So he's basically a toddler right now. He's a juvenile penguin. He wants me to hang out with him, he wants me to play with him, and I'm not. So this is what he's doing right now. He and his brother, this is his brother right here, Monty, they just got their adult feathers. So had you guys been here about a month ago, they were actually still gray and white, but they just molted a few weeks ago and got their adult feathers, and I think they look very handsome. They're sponsored by the Montecito Bank and Trust, who are basically feeding, they're paying for the cost of the food for the penguins, because when these guys were born a year ago, that's 2 extra mouths to feed, which could be up to 50 fish a day. So we're very grateful to Montecito Bank and Trust for doing that, and we let them name them, so they chose Monty and Cito. And then last but certainly not least, very special penguin, Lucky, who is on the island right now. He's peeing himself. He wears a shoe on his right foot. And the reason why he wears that is because when he was born here, he hatched with a deformity in his right foot that unfortunately forces him to walk on his heel instead of up on his tiptoes like the rest of the penguins. It was something that we weren't able to actually go in and physically correct. So the best that we could do is provide him as much comfort as possible. So Teva, which is an excellent shoe company, decided to sponsor Lucky for the rest of his life and supply him with as many shoes as he needs for absolutely free. So they developed this fantastic shoe that is Velcroed on, and it's made of the same material as a wetsuit is, and he is able to get around the exhibit and swim just fine. We change the boot every other day, check on his food, make sure it's not swollen, make sure he's not in any pain. And he's been doing this for 6 years, and it is in no way debilitating towards him. He is one of the toughest penguins. None of the other penguins mess with him because they know that he will hold his own and fight back. So if you see him, that's Lucky, and he probably has more shoes than I do because he has so many. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. We do feed our penguins hand-fed individually, and we keep track of how many they're eating. It's our way of making sure they're all getting enough food, and it also gives us the opportunity to get up close and personal with our penguins. They are not cuddly animals. They don't want us touching them. They don't want us near them for the most part. Monty and Cito are the only exception because we hand raise them. So they see us as mom and dads and things like that. The other penguins want nothing to do with us. They just want the fish so that they can walk away. So we do keep track of everything. These penguins self-regulate their own diet. So they come up to me if they want fish, and if they don't want fish, I'm not going to force them to take any. I do offer fish to every single penguin, but that doesn't mean that they want it. So in case you see one sitting in the corner, he's not upset. He just doesn't want it. Does anybody have any questions before I get started? No? Alright, I can talk about penguins all day, but they're hungry. If you guys come up with something and just shout it out, I'll have my head down so I won't be able to see if your hand is raised. Okay, yes, I am.
I just thought they were going to throw fish in here. Yeah. Go get them, but it makes sense that they want to keep track of what everybody's eating.
Over here, David. Excuse me, Bobby. I'm sorry. Lucky so